Oh.
You're going to introduce yourself.
Yep, that'll be it. We'll use that. We'll keep that in. Hi, I'm John.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sam. Your designer, your local independent watchmaking designer from WT Author.
Back again. Week number 5. Yeah.
Chapter 5.
For anyone that hasn't noticed, I have been changing my displays behind here. Look, so that I've even changed the one on the left to now include the 1934, 1940.
Mm-hmm.
And here we have the 1940 poster behind me here.
Yeah.
Just for the eagle-eyed of you.
We have technical drawings all over them.
Yeah.
So we use those at shows, don't we?
We do, but I was looking back through stuff to talk about today, and I don't think we introduced them till next year. So we've got to keep stum about that for a bit.
Part of our rebrands.
Yeah, so that comes later with the 1953. So yeah, we'll say no more about that.
All right.
Yeah.
Keep them on tenterhooks.
But no, this was quite an exciting year for us. Not that they're not all exciting, but this was just a really, like, we just went all out on this watch. Like, there was no like kind of playing around with, this has to be like dressy and it has to be refined and it has to be like this and that. It was like, okay, well, we don't really have a set brief. We just know that we want to make some kind of pilot's watch. Let's just do whatever the hell we want, really.
Yeah.
That was quite a fun project to start, really, because we didn't really know what we were going to have at the end of it. It must have been good to design, I'd have thought.
Well, I knew that I wanted it to be heavier. And in order to do that, we basically looked at modularizing the build of the watch. So whereas we'd in the past, and then that drawing behind you represents that perfectly, that exploded view of the watch. Every collection we brought out beforehand has been machined from a solid block, whereas this allowed us to customize and go a little bit deeper into the product design, which is something that I wanted to bring to the table. And it's just great because we basically had a loose brief, but completely allowed ourselves to go crazy with the design.
You always do like it when you have loose briefs.
I love it.
We wanted to design it heavier so that pilots in the Second World War had to take on more fuel so that they could get off the ground with their heavier watch. That's what they needed.
Yeah, like they're basically doing circles around the airfield, not being able to go in a straight line because they're being way to one side.
But we can talk about the design. I know we've kind of talked about the design later on, but
do you want me to launch into it, or do you want?
Well, no, I think so. Just because the kind of stuff that I've got is kind of like assembly stuff and things like that, and so obviously I'm going to kind of give away.
We can chop and change. We'll get to a point, and if I raise something that you want to discuss further, then yeah, we can look at it on screen.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, following the success of the 1934, the previous year, we obviously introduced the green edition as like a special, even more limited watch. And we decided to do the same again this year, but with an automatic version as well as the Quartz. And both editions have have like something special about them. Not that all of them don't have, but we'll go into that. So I'm going to flip over to my phone now, and we can take a closer look.
Sam is just flicking over to his other phone to show you the actual watches. The one that you're going to see at the very front is one of my personal favorites, but he will explain more about that. I see that he's positioned it nicely at the front because it's just, look at that now. God, I haven't seen that watch for absolutely ages.
Yeah, look at the oxidization on this watch.
Woo!
The patina on that bad boy.
I love how the edges though have like buffed up, and then the bits that are rarely touched are kind of like the ones that have all the surfaces that are never really rubbed against anything have gone like so green, but like that side edge is still like pretty buff, isn't it?
I mean, this one has been exposed to the elements. It's obviously an exhibition piece, so we always have it out in the open for people to come and take a closer look. This is a prototype of the eventual final piece that was released. When did we release this? 2016?
17?
I think it's 2016.
Oh, no, it would have been, sorry, yeah. And then we kind of toured with it 2017, yeah.
2017?
2016. No, 17.
Yeah, you were right. It's 2017.
Look at that. If that watch was a Petri dish, Sam.
I mean, in the day of COVID, I'm not sure anyone wants to go anywhere near this ever again.
Yeah.
But we sold out these very, very quickly. I think it was a case of a couple of months for the black edition that you see here. And it's like companion piece, the grey edition, to completely sell out. This was the first year we'd produced 6 colorways in the collection, ranging from black, grey, cream, green, white, and blue. And they're all built to various different specifications. So this one is the quartz. This one is a quartz edition, which was the move on to the green specification that we had in the last collection. So they're built to exactly the same spec, just obviously different colorways, completely different design.
I still get people trying to offer me cash for mine off the stand. They're still like, I want that one. Can I give you like £1,000 and I'll have that one? I'm like, nope, you can't, because that's mine. And it looks nothing like that one. Mine has never been worn. So it's like still really like nice bronze, where that kind of, you know, the patina is there.
Yeah. So we had the matte silver finishing, the layer of bronze in the middle is unique to this edition only. The other versions all have ion plated stainless steel. This one was the only one to use the solid bronze that allowed it to oxidize like this. But yeah, everything else is stainless steel. I mean, going into the design part a little bit further, the whole inspiration behind this entire collection was this feeling of, you know, digging around in a Second World War jet and ripping an instrument panel straight, like a gauge straight out of the instrument panel, and literally placing it on your wrist with a really like heavy duty leather watch strap.
I'm just going to see, Sam, if I can share this image at the same time that you're talking. Can you see that on anything? Why is your screen still there?
Yeah, I can see that.
So this was before. This was like the before shot of that watch.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of see it was just this like beautiful, like buttery gold, kind of brushed bronze that then turned to this. So this was Sam's watch that he's currently holding. This was what the photograph was of. So you can see just how much more it's kind of changed over the years.
Well, it came with a written warning, didn't it?
Yeah.
We basically put a disclaimer attached to the watch with instructions and clear indication of what the product will become. And it was almost like a written warning to the customer, which was quite funny. It might be worth keeping that screen up, John, because, I mean, I don't know whether, because I'll be talking. Oh, actually, no, don't worry. We can obviously share it again because it will obviously show at a different part of the screen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the companion piece for the black edition is the grey edition. So this watch, automatic of the black version, it's all grey. It was our first Phantom piece that we produced. Again, sold out pretty quickly. I think the last one we sold was at Techno Classica in Germany.
It was actually. I've got a video of me assembling that watch that I was going to show as well. But this just going back to show, that was just another photo of the one that Sam was just talking about, on the black background with the beautiful red anodized aluminium chapter ring. And then this was the back of the watch that Sam's talking about now, which I just think looks so cool, the back of this watch. It's yeah, just like the amount of different surfaces and sections to it, and like Sam was talking about previously, just how modular it is. Like it just looks like it's been like bits stacked on top of each other. Which
here's the back. I mean, this is a prototype, so the movement's been locked, and the case back has some minor differences to what the final version looks like. But yeah, touching on this kind of modularity, you can really pick that up in the side profile of these watches. If I can get it into focus, yeah, like such. No, I can't get it into focus. But it does add that so much weight compared to the other watches in our collection, and it was basically the kind of benchmark for watches to become that would come out afterwards. So from this point onwards, we've basically instilled modularity into every collection we've brought out.
Is that side profile on your screen, Sam? Just one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You can kind of see there, yeah, like the different sections to it. And even I've just got one that's kind of half made up here. I just stopped showing that just to kind of show what Sam was talking about. Like even these shoulders here are actually on a separate piece. Because we wanted to have this kind of incredible looking case with this like knurled pattern around it, and we didn't want any kind of cast marks to be in there where the kind of transition from surface to surface would have been. So those shoulders actually slot in, just like this kind of cool cartridge system. And then the case back then screws onto the back of that.
Okay, where shall I go next?
Yeah.
Desert Storm. This is probably the most unique colorway in our entire collection, would you say?
It is. Like I love, again, like all of these look totally different depending on the colorways, and we wanted them to reflect what they would have kind of been doing in that time frame. So this one was, would have probably been, a pilot's watch that was flying over like Libya and Egypt. And so that's why we wanted to keep it like very kind of sandy colors.
Yeah. We used, I mean, it's a combination of gold and bronze. I mean, this is stainless steel plated, but these bronze colorings with the tan strap really makes it quite unique. I've yet to see another watch using a similar colorway with the cream dial. Yeah. But it's popular for that reason. People never seen anything like it before.
I think it's also quite a nice, like, summer wearing watch, like out in the kind of light and, like daylight and things, whereas some of the others are a little bit darker and like edgier in terms of their colors, especially that gray one that Sam was just talking about. So this one is like a really good one to wear probably like now, really.
Yeah. The one thing I love about this collection is that red chapter ring, the kind of mark that you can see around the dial. That's the same on every single watch, and I love that.
I remember, I think you almost snuck that in. I didn't really know that was coming. I remember the first samples of the parts that we saw, just been like, whoa, that's cool. And you're like, oh yeah, I just thought I'd just put that in. Thought it'd look cool.
Yeah.
And also, one thing to note, which is the first year we ever did with these watches, is that all the dials are slightly different.
Yeah, they are. So they're all unique designs in themselves. So all the dials are completely different. They're not just reinventing for a different colorway. They're all completely unique. So they all use the same chassis design with different color options to make them unique. But the dials themselves are also completely unique as well, all with different stamps and markings.
Yeah, which was the first time we'd done that, which was kind of quite different, really, quite different from us just previously being like, okay, well, that dial's going to be blue, black, cream, and white. It was like giving each watch its own personality. I kind of think that's worked. Like that worked out really well because it meant that they did all look unique. It wasn't like they were just the same watch in a different color. It was like, like we have people like, oh, I really want that one because I love the blue dial, or you were just talking then about the Desert Storm colors because they wanted something that was maybe a little bit more lighter and summery.
Yeah.
And that's what they'd go for. But no, I love them.
Okay, the next piece is really special. So this one is about to be stocked at the Imperial War Museum.
Oh yeah.
So the green edition here, we build 100 of, like the cream. This one I'm really proud of because we basically threw, nearly dropped that, threw everything at it in terms of color. There's so many colors going on in this entire watch, from antique gold, yellow, green, white, red, silver, black.
It doesn't look like, oh my god, you've like literally vomited colors on there. Like they all kind of work together.
Yeah.
And we have people that in the motorsport industry really want this watch because it's the kind of colors of your classic British racing green and your kind of Lotus and Caterhams with your yellows and things. And then at air shows, it's very much the kind of B17 Memphis Belle colors, the kind of green and yellows. So it kind of does well wherever we go, really.
It's done so well, this watch. We don't have many left, actually, out of the 100. So yeah, looking forward to seeing this one in store.
Yeah, which I'll be starting making those today. Actually, that is my weekly job to make those watches. So that'll be exciting.
And then moving on to the Quartz Edition. So we build 125 of each of these ones. So the white edition, using a bronze plate. It's an iron-plated stainless steel bezel in bronze coloring, black on the plate. Similar to the creamer that it uses the tan leather strap. But it's a completely different specification. Again, completely different design.
And the one other thing of note on these that we haven't really talked about is that we kind of, again, a first for us on the dials, we gave these watches all a kind of name, which we'd never done before. Again, just to kind of add personality to them. So you can kind of see there that one is the Vulture. And we assigned squadron numbers to them, all loosely based on what those squadrons would have been doing, hence the kind of Libya and Egypt, or, whether the grey one was the kind of night bomber command and things. So that one there is the Vulture. And I mean, am I okay to kind of just talk quickly about the photographs of what I did?
Yeah, you sharing?
Yeah, I'm gonna. So we basically, because every year we try and photograph them all on things that would have been periods to that time. And obviously the 1914 was only kind of 2 watches ago, and we did them on the kind of military prop background. And even though I probably could have got my hands on like loads of World War II props, we thought, actually, let's try and do something that looks a bit different because it hasn't been that long since the kind of last kind of war watch. So let's try and change it up a bit. So I just happened to randomly be at our local little airfield nearby where we live in Shropshire. And they've got this amazing little museum there that's kind of tucked out of the way. And I was walking around and I realized that they had like all the engines of the planes that we'd named these watches after. So I kind of just set up a meeting, went down and chatted to the guys there at Slape Airfield, and took all the camera and lighting equipment down and photographed all the watches on the engine. So this one you can kind of see here is the Peregrine, which was the green one that Sam's been talking about, which you can kind of just see like the amount of colors there. But I just think they just all tie in amazingly. Like there's slight like yellow in the antique brass, which kind of ties in the yellow, and the chestnut brown strap like really works. It was always worked for us with the green, like goes really nicely as well. And then the Mercury here, which was the cream, which Sam's just been talking about, which had this section on it that basically just fit the watch perfectly in there. Even had like a little crown protector on it, which I thought was quite cool.
I do love that photo.
all of these engines were like super, super oily, as if like they'd just literally been ripped out of the ground. So these were all brand spanking new watches, beautiful new straps that we'd just made. And then I was like, oh God, I don't really want to put them on this engine. It's like absolutely covered in oil. Merlin on a Merlin. So that's a pretty iconic engine, which is normally seen in the kind of Spitfires. But I believe that this one was named after the Merlin that went in the Armstrong Whitworth Whitley. And then this engine was pretty battered. I think this had probably been at the bottom of the sea or something like that, because it was like, almost unrecognizable. But this was the Pegasus. But I just loved that it had this like streak of blue paint down the side of it, which kind of just tied in nicely with the blue of the Quartz version that Sam will show you in a bit. But that was basically, you can kind of just about see on there, the squadron, instead of being SQN for squadron, was NAS for Naval Air Squadron, because that was the blue to kind of signify that, it was the kind of naval colors. The same with the strap. What we've just seen, Hercules, again, a pretty battered Hercules engine, but I just love the fact that all the colors tie in with the kind of bronze casing that Sam was telling you about. And then this one here, which was the Vulture, which wasn't a particularly reliable engine.
My God, is it a reliable watch?
You'd kind of think we were crazy to say, like, to call us the Vulture and name it after an engine that wasn't very good. But I just absolutely love the name, the Vulture, and that plane that the Vulture engine was in, which was the Avro Manchester, later developed into the Lancaster bomber, which was arguably the most iconic plane from the Second World War. Again, it kind of, the watch just fit perfectly into this spot. I think this is one of my favorite photos. It kind of just reminds me a bit of like Geiger's Alien artwork from like the film Alien. And yeah, so they were just a bit of chat about the hero shots there.
Right, I'll rewind a bit then, and we'll finish off with this Naval Air Squadron inspired timepiece. So this was the companion piece to the White Edition, also built to 125 pieces, a quartz movement, completely different dial again, but it uses a really, really dark blue dial, which is actually quite difficult to pick up on this screen.
I can kind of see it. It does look blue.
Yeah. This one's awesome. I love this watch, and it's on a really dark blue leather strap as well.
That awesome. I'm a big fan of the color blue, so I always tend to migrate to like.
But I mean, it's been quite a jump. So if I just pick up the 1934 from last week, we knew that we needed to evolve, and in order to kind of retain some of the references from the previous edition, we basically retained this squared off cushion case and adapted it to a pilot watch aesthetic by looking at the instrument panels and such on Second World War jet planes. So yeah, it's not your kind of seamless transition, but the references are still there. It's
like your colleague that decides to take up going to the gym without you knowing, and then all of a sudden, like after the summer holidays, turns up and he's like pumped up, like just incredibly muscular.
Yeah,
because you can kind of see it, like just in that 1934 that you showed there, you can kind of see the bits in there, like the tuning fork indices are still there, like the A is still at the same position, the second hand still red, like all these little bits that kind of make up our DNA. It's just basically turbocharged.
There's a focus on the shape as the kind of reference points from the previous version.
Yeah, and I think as well, like one thing that we didn't want to do with this watch is that when you think the pilot's watch has been around for as long as people have been flying, really, but especially the kind of pilot's watch you see now that are kind of the most done, really, the kind of Second World War watches, and they've just been kind of done to death, really. Like everyone's done a version of the same watch because they'd have only been issued like one watch back in the RAF back in those days, as would like the Luftwaffe, or the, American Air Force, things like that. And we didn't want it to just be, okay, well, we're going to take that design and we're just going to put our logo on it and put our indices and things like that. We're like, well, how can we make this into our own unique watch that, you know, looks completely different? And I think we nailed it. Like, I know that's pretty like arrogant to say, but I just absolutely love the attention that still gets.
Yeah, we totally nailed it. We were right to say that. We totally nailed that design.
But we had people that, for example, I'll show you in a second one of the really cool shows that we did at the launch of that watch. I think it was actually the launch of that watch. We sold the green one literally all weekend. Like, people would just keep coming up and they'd be like, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one. And we kind of then realized it was probably because it was like had this link to kind of Memphis Belle really in terms of the colors. But people would just come up and they'd be like, I want that one. And I'd say, do you want to try it on? And they'd be like, no, it's fine. I just want that watch. And you're like, what? Do you not even want to try the watch on? Like, it's really comfortable. It's like, I don't even need to sell this to you because you've already said you want to buy it. But like, please let me tell you about it. But yeah, it really, like we kind of said at the end of the last video, it really opened up some new kind of doors in terms of.
So this one basically opened up the possibilities of looking at air shows, right?
Yeah. So I've got a folder here of the first show. So I'm sure this was September. No, it would have been about July 2017.
So this is Duxford, right?
Yeah. So this was like, you can kind of see just us with our stand there. But just the amazing thing about this show is that everyone kind of gets dressed up there. Not quite to the extent like Goodwood's. You'll see people in the background that aren't really dressed up. But there's like all these amazing like cosplay. Am I saying the wrong thing? Maybe it's role play. And they're all just kind of wandering around in like World War II dress. So these are some World War II markings.
Those people look really like planes. They've really put the effort in.
They got dressed up and just came. But I believe I'm right in saying that these were the markings of the Battle of Britain kind of Spitfires. You can tell the Spitfires because of the oval, like elliptical wings. But it just means that you can just get amazing photos down there because they've just got
everything, right?
So many planes, and they just all fly. And it's kind of a shame that it's not going this year at the minute because of everything that's happened. But you can see, like, if I kind of airbrush this plane out in the background, you kind of think that you were actually there in the kind of Second World War because all these kind of ground crew staff and everything are all dressed up. And the kind of setting's just beautiful as well. It's just this incredibly flat airfield. I mean, just look at that. It's literally just rows of planes like this. And you can get so close to them. Not these women. They don't let you close to these women. Just the plane. And so kind of then the reason why we're in this gazebo here is that it was the one show of the year that I organised, and I thought that I'd organise a shell scheme like we normally get, and I turned up and I was literally just like directed to an area of grass because I'm not quite as organised as Sarah is. And so we had to go out and buy this gazebo, and I basically was wearing this cap for the entire weekend, and I had this incredible tan line that went round like the entire circumference of my head.
I've also subsequently broken that gazebo at another show. So
we had to get stormproof ones after a weekend where Sam put it up and it blew away, basically. They had the red arrows there, which was quite cool to see, like so close up. But yeah, all these like amazing guys were like dressed up, and all the women as well. But you kind of always thought how they go about getting their ranks, because I'm sure everyone probably wants to be like the general. But it's like, oh, I'm sorry, we've already got a general. You've got to wait for him to die. You're going to have to just be like a squaddy. But yeah, it was a pretty amazing weekend, just seeing all these people. Like, I'd really love this photo.
Yeah.
Maybe not this guy on the right here in the like fluorescent yellow, but like everything else about his photo looks quite cool. And then at the end, I can't remember the name of it. They give it a name, but I've forgotten it. So I think it's something in French. But all the planes that have been flying for that day, they put up all in the air at once. They like fly off in like one after the other. You don't really notice it, and they go off like miles down the road, turn around, and they all come back together. And watching, like, I think there's probably something like 70 planes fly over. It's like the tiniest snippet of what it would have been like to have seen these planes fly over in the 40s. And it kind of still just like brings the, your hairs on your arm just stand up, because the noise is just terrific, like absolutely amazing.
Yeah, well, we've had good shows at Duxford, and like we said, we've got the 1940 going into the store as of next month, which is really exciting. So I'm presuming once they're open and ready to go again, we'll be able to promote it a lot more effectively.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I have a few other things to show you, if that's okay.
No.
No. Okay. Right. So we'll see you later.
Show me if you.
Bye bye. This was kind of just showing some of the assembly photos of the 1940. Just to kind of give you a bit of a snapshot. This was the black and bronze edition that Sam was showing you earlier. So you'll kind of get a sense of like how the color of the case looked in a minute when you kind of see it. But just, showing like the hand settings. This is that bit that I was telling you about, the internal ring, which had the shoulders on. That kind of slots into this area here. Me with my little binocular on. Binocular, sorry.
I love that photo.
And then you can kind of see here, like that, the color of that bronze is just absolutely beautiful. I absolutely love it. But it just didn't stay like that for long. Like even the one that I have, I think I might have worn it once maybe, and it doesn't look anything like this. Like it's oxidized and gone like kind of darker brown now. But yeah, when it first came and it had like no oxygen hit it, it just looks beautiful. And then a bit of putting the case backs on. And then, yeah, so that is one. And then I'm going to try and see if I can share this video with you. Bear with me. And then a window. I think it's here. Oh, yeah, is it? Is this working?
Yeah.
So yeah, so this was the very last. I mean, the case back number was 19, but it was the very last watch that we assembled and sent out of the grey 1940. And so I just kind of took a few little clips just to show the kind of movement being screwed in, all the hands being set. Showing it coming to life there. And then just setting it in the case. Kind of a shame when we sell out of a watch and it's like, I know that I'm never going to get to assemble it again. I mean, obviously I'll probably be servicing it, but then that's the screw down movement holder in the automatics is a metal screw-in piece. And then that beautiful enamel infill on the case back. And then all the kind of individual tiny little Allen keys. It's always hard when I film things like this and I'm like very aware that one slight movement I could scrape the case back. So I've got to be very careful. But yeah, that's just a bit of assembly of the 1940.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I think this was the year as well that we moved to our new workshop as well, which gave us so much more space.
Yeah.
We could really kind of, just spread out a little bit, which was quite nice.
Breathe.
Yeah. But instantly you feel it. Like you always think, oh my God, this place is too big. And then it's like, this place is too small. We need somewhere bigger.
Yeah.
but yeah, that was the assembly. I don't really know what else. Oh, the other thing that we kind of did that you can talk about, Sammy, was we kind of launched it ever so slightly differently. I believe this was the last year that we launched it specifically in September. It was the 1953 that we brought it forward and
I think. Oh, was it 68?
No, do you remember? We were like, we're going to start showing like the behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, it was. So 53, we started showing behind the scenes a lot.
Whereas this one here, the 1940, was the last one where we kind of went in September, like, this is your watch. However, before we launched it, you did these awesome like sketches that you kind of teased people with, so people didn't really know exactly what they were getting.
Yeah, because we'd always been quite secretive with the final product, really weirdly. But now we've fallen into this routine of inviting everyone into the whole design process for the whole year. It's a 12-month process, and we're sitting on all this content that should be shared as part of the development. So now we launch the pre-order a lot earlier in the year, and basically, warm people up throughout these 12 months in order for them to start seeing what the next watch is going to be like. Even literally from the most loosest sketch on the back of an envelope all the way through to the actual final product, people can see the constant evolution this product goes through during that time.
I think what's exciting about it was, I remember, I think the first 4 watches we had just made a big fanfare when it got to like as near to September the 13th as possible. And it was almost a little bit like, like you just said, we had all this stuff that we were sat on that we were like, well, we should be showing people this. Like, it seems like a waste of time us doing it if we can't get to show people. And so it was just really cool with this one. It was a bit like, oh, this is what you're going to kind of get. And people were like, oh my God, like, because the images that I'm kind of just showing you here are kind of quite intriguing. You don't really know what it is, but it's like, oh, what's that doing? Like, it's doing something weird there.
Yeah, it's distorted enough. I mean, that one's quite clear.
Yeah, but this one, you'd have never really understood like all the kind of stuff that Stan was talking about before in terms of the, the solid bronze casing and everything. But it kind of brought like, we had people in America would like, I remember they called up and said, oh, I hear you're doing a grey watch. And we're like, yeah, like, I want number 1. We're like, but you haven't seen it yet. He was like, yeah, but I know that you're good for it. Like, I know it's going to be amazing, and I want number 1, which is always quite nice. But it always puts the pressure on as well. You're kind of a little bit like, oh my God, what happens if he doesn't like it? Whereas now, obviously, there's no real risk of that because people kind of know what it's going to look like, from like April, and there's no like, I'm not so keen on that now. It's like, well, it's been the same for however many months. It's just come to life more. It's just gone from being a flat sketch to an actual product that you see before.
Plus, we're awesome designers now.
Yeah,
that's true. But now we're really awesome designers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the last thing I have to show you is really just, we went back to the airfield afterwards to take some photos of the actual watches on the wrist to kind of show how they would look. So you can see that I've got my flying jacket on in case you didn't notice it.
You're jetting off as soon as this finishes.
Yeah, as soon as this finishes, I'm getting in my plane and I'm out of here. And so, so this is back on the airfield. We thought it'd be kind of quite a cool place to do this. Although when you're kind of taking photos like this, it kind of doesn't really make loads of difference where you are because you don't really see the actual background. It's more, the fact I'm wearing a pilot's jacket. Sorry, it's taking a little bit of time to load up. They're quite big files. But yeah, and people always say as well, like the weird thing, like, I'm 100% wearing this watch upside down, but obviously when you're taking a photo of this, it makes sense to have the watch the right way up so that people can actually...
You want to see the dial. At the end of the day, you want to see the actual dial the right way up.
Exactly. And you'd get people going, oh, your watch is upside down. So, well, I could show you a photo of it upside down, but you're just going to have to like rotate your screen.
Yeah.
Having said that, I'm probably going to skip to a photo of a watch that is the upside down and make myself look like a right idiot. But you can kind of see just how different these watches look like when they're actually on your wrist.
Mm.
And yeah, I've got my scarf on and everything.
Beautiful.
My flying gloves. And yeah, so that's about it really in terms of I've got to show you all.
Cool. Seems like a nice place to finish this week's chat.
Yeah, I think so. So I ask you, Sam, this week, what are we doing next week?
Next week, chapter 6, 1953, looking at dress watches from the 50s. That's what we're doing next week.
We didn't, just very quickly, we didn't really mention in there that the 1940 was obviously named after the Battle of Britain. And that was why we picked that specific year. Like every year we pick a new year, and it kind of has to represent something that's quite important. And the 1940 was the Battle of Britain.
Yeah.
So we had to make sure that those engine names that the watches were named after flew in the Battle of Britain. That was the kind of level of detail that we went to make sure that everything was consistent.
We've looked at the 1953 because of the Queen's coronation, right?
Yeah. And
so,
I've just thought of some exciting things we can talk about that. Not that we didn't have any, but I've just thought of some exciting things we can talk about. Because we kind of changed a few bits from what you normally get in the box next year.
Well, we introduced our First Lady's watch as well. So
yeah, we did. Oh,
lots to talk about, John.
We'll talk about that for at least 15 minutes. So, but yeah, so exciting. Loads happening. Right. Yeah.
Let's say bye then.
Okay then.
Goodbye. See you next time.
Bye-bye.